Okay, welcome back. We're moving right along. We're up to part 18. You're going to finally see me get the two bridges put together. And I get my barrels all finished up. And it's starting to look like a model. Got a few little things I got to do to it here and there, you know. So even though I got it together, and I'm not gluing the other section of the gun carrier on yet. That'll be in the next video because I got some little things I want to do, and I'm going to show you in this video some highlighting I do. I call it highlighting, not weathering. And if you've been noticing, the back of my work area has been a mess. I got stuff everywhere, and I can't stand a mess. So at the end of the video, I'm going to show you what I went out and bought myself to kind of clean up this area, and it looks much nicer. You got a clean area, it makes you want to come down and work. You got stuff scattered all over, it's like, oh man. So alright, so this is going to be a long video again. So let's go ahead, get the camera turned around, and I'll show you where we're at. Alright, so here we are. Start of another week, and if you remember, I left off last week with the problem with these decals. Still haven't, now this is a week for you guys, but for me it's only a couple days. I still haven't really decided 100% of what I'm going to do. In case you didn't watch last week's, I've got two more decals that have to go on up here in the front of the main bridge, both of them up here in the front. And the problem was they gave me 4 decals, which I'm only supposed to use 2, but only one of them says front and the other 3 say rear. So I went through the rest of them decals. I had a bunch of spare decals left over, and I was going through them, and sure enough I found this little set. If you remember a few videos back, I had a set of decals that said number 22 on it, and there was nowhere anywhere for a call out for a decal number 22. Alright, but what I found on this was, and I know you can't see it, but down here there's 4 sets of lettering. 2 of them say front, VROM, and the other 2 say rear. Alright, and I thought, oh man, there's my lettering. Well, problem is, when I bring it over here and compare it to this lettering, it's way off. Okay, it's about half the size of that lettering. So that's not going to work. That option is out. I've got, basically I got 1 or 2 options. Well, 3 really. I'm going to send an email off to Hobby Boss and see if they'll send another set of decals. I doubt it. I'm not going to wait weeks for it to get here, so I'm going to have to make a decision. And I got basically 2 decisions to I came up with. One is I don't put any decals up there at all, or, which I think I'm going to go with, this other option where I'm going to have my gun so it's facing in this direction. Okay, so it will be displayed like this, and this is the front. So I'll take the one decal that does have the word front on it and go ahead and put that on there. And then the other side, which will be the back up against a wall and you won't see it, I'm going to just go ahead and cut that word rear off of there, Hinton or whatever it's called, and cut it off and put the rest of the decal on there. They will not be the same. There will be that little bitty difference, but it's one of those things that, number one, you won't be seeing it because it'll be up on the back of the display up against the wall, and number 2, if somebody does look at it and then looks at the other side, probably won't catch it. I don't like it, I'm not happy with it, but I don't have much choice. So I think that's the route I'm going to go. I'm going to cut that word hinting off and just put the rest of the lettering on the other side. Like I said, I am really teed off about that. So, what I've been up to. Alright, I went ahead and got my one barrel glued in. Got this barrel glued into the breech. It's been sitting here for a couple of days. I used 5-minute epoxy on it. Okay, and the way I did that was, you know, your normal thing would be to go ahead. This is the next barrel that goes in. Okay, this barrel will go in this here like this. All right. Now the normal thing to want to do is put glue on this surface and then stick it in there. All right. I don't want to do that, and I'll tell you why. One reason is I'm using 5-minute epoxy, and the reason I'm using 5-minute epoxy is because, if you remember, this is not a really super tight fit. Okay, if I can get it down in there, it's really not a super tight fit, and that 5-minute epoxy will fill in whatever little gap I might have. But if I put the epoxy on here and then oh, excuse me, shove this down in here, it's going to cause that epoxy to ooze out. It's going to force it out along the top here. Well, I'm having trouble getting that one. There it is. It'll force it out along that seam. So what I did on this barrel, and I'm going to do on the other 2 barrels, is get that 5-minute epoxy in here, inside of it. There's a ring inside of here where that barrel fits into, and I'll get a real good coating of 5-minute epoxy on that ring and just barely get some on this outer ring, so that when I go and slip the 2 together, it will push that epoxy down inside instead of squeezing it to the outside. Alright, and that's what I did here on this part down here, and I have no squeeze out of any kind of glue or anything. Alright, and I see a little problem I got that I missed. I forgot to paint this outer ring here my field gray color, so I'm going to have to go along and touch that outer ring up a little bit. So, first section of barrel is in. I'll be doing the second section here in just a little bit. But the reason I haven't got nothing glued together yet is I have been doing a little bit of highlighting. Let's call it highlighting. It's not weathering, it's highlighting. I've been using this Vallejo wash, all right, and this stuff is real subtle. Okay, I almost went ahead and made up my own, but I've been sticking with this. It's been doing the job. I'm happy with it. And I've been using one of my wife's art pencils. It's a white one. The color is white. All right, and I'll show you what I do with that. But I've been taking this Vallejo and a super fine brush. Which one is it? Right here it is. Get that showing up. Super fine brush, comes to a real fine point. And I've been taking this Vallejo, and I already got this one done, and like I said, it's super subtle. You can't hardly tell it's there. But I've been going around all these little nuts and bolts, and there's some larger bolts here, and some of this stuff. All these little hand valves, I just went over them real lightly. These little boxes, control things all over the place. I just been going along and kind of getting down into the crevices, you know, where 2 pieces have come together. All right, just kind of giving them a little bit of a highlight. All right, and then I come along with this pencil. All right, and I take this pencil, and it's only on my horizontal surfaces. All right, I've been taking this pencil and going across the edge, like this edge of this larger bridge here, and just going along that edge, rubbing that along that edge. Okay, along the edge of this catwalk here, along that edge. There's some little boxes right here. Okay, I did the top edge of that. I did a little bit on this this rod that runs down through here from this hand crank. I did these little boxes here, mostly my vertical surfaces. And what that does is it highlights that edge, it breaks it up. It's just subtle enough that it puts a contrast there between, when you're looking at it, instead of it being one big solid color, now you got a little breakup between this top and this side by going over that edge. It's not very much. It's real subtle, but it's enough that I can see it. And I even went across the tops of the rails a little bit, this railing. And it's just enough, especially on these catwalks, it looks pretty good, that it breaks up the color a little bit. So that's what I've been doing. I've done this one already. I got this one all done on both sides with the wash and this pencil. If anything, the pencil stands out more than the wash does. But the wash, you know, it highlighted some of these nuts and bolts a little bit, brought them out, gave it a little bit of a shadow. Okay. So I got to do this other one. I'll show you a little bit of what I'm doing here in a second. Got to do this one and one of these here. I think I already did one of these. I have to look. And well, here I got the pencil in my hand. Let me make sure I got the right one. Let me look at this other one. Yeah, I already did this one. All right. So let me show you what I do with this pencil here. All right. Let's take, there's a little box right here. All right. Now I'm just going to take this pencil on its edge and just go right across the edge of that. Yeah, you might have to go across it a few times depending on what type of pencil you're using. Okay. And then I'll get the other edge here. And I don't know if it's showing up. See, I just did this little spot right here. And I'm going to try and do this. If you can see what I'm doing, go across this edge here. And like I said, it's just enough. Because if the sun was hitting that, you know, I don't know, the edge would be like that, I think, in real life. I've seen other guys do this on their models, and it works out pretty good. I've got this edge here to do. And it's very subtle. It doesn't show up a whole lot. But with me sitting here looking at it, I can see it. All right. Now, let me tell you, you could also use a pencil, regular lead pencil. I've got, you know, one of them. The better kind would be a lead pencil like this. You can also use that, and that has a bit more of a shine to it. Okay. So it's either or, whatever you want to use. Practice with it. you know, find a couple spots that ain't very visible, like the inside of this, and practice with it and see what you get. I'm going to get this edge right here. Trying to look and see if I'm in view. Okay, along here. See what else I got. I got this edge to do. All right, so it's real subtle, but it's enough that it highlights the edges and it makes things more detailed look. I go along this catwalk, get this edge here. Simple as this. It's not very difficult, and it's just enough to put some highlight on there. Get the front of that catwalk along the front of this edge. And depending on, you know, the color of your model, you could use different colored pencils. My wife's got a wide variety of them. I even brought out a light gray, but that didn't show up very well, didn't highlight it very well. This white works better, looks nicer. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this one. And let me get the... Let me get my wash out here and show you what I'm doing with this. My brush. Alright. Let me shake this up a little bit. Okay. Got to be real careful picking this thing up. Let me start up here with these. There's some real big bolts up here on top where this carriage is at. I just dipped this brush in there, get a bunch on it, and it doesn't hurt how much you put on. You can really flood it, and I'll show you what happens. And I'm just coming along and going around the edge of that bolt. Okay. Now it looks real shiny now, the way it's going on, but this will dry and dull down, and it's hardly noticeable. But it's enough to make them stand out a little more than just being the same color as the rest of the model. Let me get all of these here. Just going around the bottom of the bolt where it meets the plastic. Alright. Now I'm just going in and picking out things. There's some molded in design here. There's a round circle right here. I'm going to go around the inside edge of that. Okay. Now I can see I got a little bit too much there. So you just take a Q-tip. All you got to do is touch it and it will suck it right up. Alright. So now that little round circle stands out a little bit more than what it did. There's a spot down in here. So I just did inside of that one. And like I said, when this dries down, it'll dull up a little bit. I could see there's a bunch of little nuts and bolts right here or whatever. So let me kind of highlight them a little bit, because you can just barely see them. Alright. This little piece here, it's got like little pieces of angle iron on it. I'll just take and run the brush all the way down it, or up it, whatever way you want to go, just like that. And it'll get down into that, where it'll get down inside there and highlight that. So that's all I got to do for right now is mess around with this. Get these all touched up a little bit. And this really is about the extent of, you can call it weathering, you can call it whatever you want. I call it highlighting. There's like a little round dot right there. I don't know what it is. Get around there on that. This little hand wheel, I'll go around on that. And get a piece of dust on there. These little bolts right here. So I know you don't want to sit here and watch me do this for about an hour, because I got to finish up this one and then do that other large bridge. And then I'll pretty much be done. See, I can see, oh wow, there's a whole bunch went on right there. I don't know if it's visible to you on that bottom one. Whole bunch went on right there. I'll just take my Q-tip. It's gone. One next to it got a little heavy. It's gone. So I'm just going to mess around with this for a little while. I can't quit coughing. I think I got me a chest cold coming on. So I'm going to finish this up. Do my larger bridge. Highlight that with the pencil. Get this box done, highlight that with the pencil, and I think then I will be ready to assemble them large bridges together. So right in here, see this? This looks like a bullseye here. Now you could take this, I've seen guys do this, and flood the whole thing with it. You know, just go crazy with a larger brush, just wipe it on there, and then come along after a few minutes with a Q-tip and wipe off any excess. But I find this works just as good. Now, there's a little dot right there that needs to come off. But now that highlights that more. I can see them nuts and bolts in the actual piece itself better than if it was just plain. All right, so let me go ahead and finish this up, and we'll be back. All right, so here we are back. This is a couple days later from the first section of this video. And the problem I got is, a lot of times I'll come down and go to film another thing, and I got to go back and watch the videos that I've already filmed to see where I'm at and what's going on, because I don't remember. I don't know what that's about. Alright, so here's where we're at. Got my decals on. Okay, and like I said, this is the side that I'm going to display, and it has the word ROM on there for front. Okay. Now, if you remember, I had already clear coated all of this, and then I put my decal on. Alright, and after that decal sets on there, you know, I take that micro set or saw, whatever it is, and put some of that on there, and it really sets that decal down nice and smooth. But you can wind up seeing the carrier film on it. You know, it's kind of shiny, it shows up. So then what I done was, after that decal set for about a day, I came along and just hit this area with my dull coat. Okay, and now all that carrier film has disappeared. All you see is the lettering. Alright, so that's that one. And then here's what I did for the other side. Like I said, I cut that word off. It was hidden, H-I-N-T-O-N or T-E-N, something like that, which means rear. So I went ahead and cut that off and just put that rest of that lettering on there. It is what it is. And then I talked about how when I set this one on here, see, this is the wrong one. When I set this, well, we'll do it like this. When I set this on there, okay, no, that was the right one. Yep. I got to remember which is front and which is back. That when I had set this on there, I could see a little spot there where it needed to be touched up. So I just took my little paintbrush and some paint and went across that edge a little bit right there on the top. So that took care of that. And then I went ahead and scraped some of the paint off right here where this other part goes, so I can get a good bond. I like plastic to plastic. So I scraped some of that paint off right there, because this is going to get a little platform here. And this thing sticks straight out. Okay? And I got no way to get it to hold there until I get this on there and get a ladder. There's a ladder that comes from this down to here, and that will hold that in that position. But this also gets a little railing on here. There's two little notches there, so I got to get that railing off, go ahead and put this together, get it painted, and so that when I'm ready to put it on, it's ready to go. Alright, so that's the last piece I think that goes on this thing, and that will complete that. Like I said, I can't do that until I get it mounted and get my ladder made. Alright, and then I got my other section of barrel in. Okay, got this section of barrel in. Did it like I said I was going to do. I put epoxy down inside this one and then shove that down in there. Alright, so I got one more section of barrel to go. And I also went ahead and touched up some more around these pieces here. Okay, because like I said, it was still showing up a little bit. So I got that taken care of. And then I went ahead with my little train cars. Alright. And I did that wood. Okay. That's showing up. I did all this wood, and once again I went to my magic marker and just did each one of them boards, and then came along to the very edge of it and just a little touch to get the edge of that board on both sides. And then I came along with what is this? Model Masters Dull Gall Gray. You can use any color you want. I took a darker shade of gray and I dry brushed over this. And it might not be showing up for you, but I dry brushed over all of this wood grain to give it a little bit of weathering effect. I wish I could get rid of this cold. So it's been weathered, you know, a little bit with that gray. And then after it's set up for about a day, I came along and dull coated it because it was kind of shiny. So I dull coated again, and that brought it down to the finish I wanted. Yep, it is showing up. I don't know if you can see that highlight on there or not. You don't want to go too crazy with it. Once again, just real subtle effect. And yes, I did bump another one of them. I had to repair it. So these little things are taking a beating, which I knew they would, sticking out there like that. But they're all still there. I just had to repair another one. Alright, so next step. Start getting this large bridge together. Okay, I got to go in here to where these little things here, where they glue on here, I got to go into each and every one of these little holes and clean them out, get the paint off of them so I can get a good glue surface there. You got 4 holes and 4 holes and then 1 and 1. So that's how they go on there like that. Oh, that one's upside down. Let me get the right one. These little pieces here are on the top. So they'll go in there like that. So I got to get these on, and then I can bring the 2 halves together. So that'll be the next step. So that's what I think I'm going to do right now, because I think I'm pretty much finished with what I got to do. All my highlighting and that, like I showed you, that little pencil trick. So yeah, we're coming along. I get these 2 halves together, get my other barrel in there, and then probably in another day or so I can go ahead and mount this gun. I can go ahead and get one side on. That's no problem. I'll get one side on, and then next day I'll have to get the other side on with the gun at the same time. Because once I get to that point and that gun's on there, now it's going to be, you know, trying to handle something about 3 feet long or better. So I think that's where I'm at. Yep, I don't think there's anything else to tell you. Alright, so let me go ahead and clean out these holes and get these little things put on there so I can get these 2 halves brought together. Alright, we'll be back. Alright, I came right back. I got a comment. I wanted to reply to this guy's comment. He was watching me in that last video last week paint some of my parts, primer them and paint them, and he made a comment that he thinks that I'm putting my paint on and my primer on too thick. It's too wet. I'm not layering it right, you know, it's going on way too wet. Well, I've mentioned this many a times before about me being in the body shop business, and when it comes to painting, I'm old schooled, okay? And by that I mean we were always taught wetter the better, okay? You get it to the point, there's a fine line there when you got just enough or you get too much and then it runs, all right? And what I mean by that is if you put this paint on and this primer, if you go and put it on and it's too dry, it won't flow out. It'll look kind of fuzzy, maybe kind of orange peely. It doesn't flow out. I like to get my paint on good and wet. All right, take it to that step to where any more and it's going to run. And by doing that, it gives that paint and that primer both a chance to flow out. Okay, a chance for it to smooth itself out in the drying process where it flows and then lays down nice and smooth. And if you look at that paint job on there, it's perfect. You know, there's no dullness in it from it being put on dry. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, it goes on kind of fuzzy, okay? You don't want that. Even if you do that, your very last coat should be a nice wet coat, okay? To make all that just flow out together, you know? Get down into each layer and make it flow. That's why when you see me doing some of this, it looks real wet, okay? Because that's the way I was taught to paint. And that's the way I do it. You do have to be careful, because you go a little bit too far and you will get a run in it. But I take it to that point where I think that's just enough, and it does. It takes its time. It takes a few extra minutes for it to dry down, but in that process, it's flowing out. So yeah, I'm real pleased with it. It came out real nice. You know, no dry spots, no spots that maybe I missed or anything. It came out real good. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. You know, I don't know how well it's going to show up for you, but to me it looks perfect. So, you know, when I get comments like that, you know, that could be from guys watching these other guys paint. But I tell you what, I watched Dr. Cranky laying on some clear on one of his model cars. He was putting some clear on it. And let me tell you, I thought any minute that thing is just going to start flowing and dripping off that model. That's how wet he got that clear when he was putting it on that model. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. The wetter the better. Paint will react better on your plastic. It'll flow out nicer and everything. So I've got a piece of fuzz right there. All right, I just thought I'd bring that up. You know, a couple guys, I think, I don't know if he was the only one or it was another one that just felt that I was putting way too much paint primer on at a time. Because if you remember in that last video, when I got done primering it, it was shiny black. But when it dries out, it's perfect. But that's something you're going to have to experiment with through trial and error and practice, and you'll see what I mean. So that's why I do that. So, I mean, everybody's got their own way, and this is my way. Like I said, I'm old school. I go back to my old days when I was painting cars. And for some of the best results, that's what you did. All right, here we go. Where's my finger pointer? There she is. I've got these 4 pieces glued on. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, and you have to be very careful with them. These little pieces that stick up are towards the top, and there's a male and female joint right here, okay, on each one. So you have to be careful you got them in the right spot. And I've already dry fitted together. It fits together good. What is more important to me than anything is that this box and this box is flush up against this all the way around. So when I dry fit it, if these 2 parts were holding it away from each other, you know, and that box wasn't going flush, then I would have had a sand on this, but it all fit together good. So there's no sanding I have to do or anything. So we're going to go ahead and get these 2 parts glued together, and my 2 bridges will be done. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my thicker Tamiya cement here. Alright, so I'm going to take this half here and get down in this hole here. Well, and also you got to make sure you got the 2 front halves facing the right way. Get some of that down in this hole here, and then all along this. Get it on there nice and thick so it'll bond together with the other half. Alright, and I'm going to put a little bit on this male part here. A little bit on the thing. And then on the female part down here, I'll put a little bit. Alright, I got to get this other hole. Alright, and I'll put a little bit on this one. I hope I'm in view for you. And a little tough getting the two together, but a little patience and prying and pushing, it'll go. Alright, here we go. I got them turned around now. Let's see. This has got to go like this, and I'll work on one end, and you got to watch them railings in there too. Them railings inside, because remember how I told you how close they were? So let me bring this up to it. Get it kind of lined up. Get that up on that ledge. Okay, I got this end together. Push that together real good and tight. Now gently spin it. I can see this box here needs to come in a little bit more on this side. There we go. That'll come together a little better when I get this end on. And this is where you got to be careful, because I got all these railings on here now, and I don't have very many places to push and pry and stuff. So I got to find that hole in that one. Where is it at? Come on. Yeah, this is a little difficult here. There it is. Wasn't down far enough. Alright. Push these two ends together. Push on them two boxes again. Real good and tight. I'm pushing tight. Spin it around. Push my other end together again. Pushing together super tight. Make sure the joints are nice and tight. Okay. Look at my railings, make sure I ain't binding them up. Yeah, they look good. What I'm looking at is down inside here where this box meets this bridge, and making sure that's a good tight fit. Right there and there. This one could be pushed together just a fraction more. Okay. Making sure these are together good and tight. And these. Now, I've got to dig through my little stash here somewhere. Find them two little pieces that go on there yet. Here they are. Where's the other one? Alright. I ain't so much worried about these. If I have to, I'll figure something out. Now, once again, you got to watch these little pins on here. There's two little pins there that go down into these two little holes, and they're offset to one end a little more. So you got to watch that you get the shorter end towards the front here. Let me see how they fit in there. Yep, that's going to fit in there perfect. Let me go ahead and glue these up. For this, I'll use my thin cement. Are we in view here? Let me back it up a little bit. A little dab right there. I already cleaned these little holes out, got the paint out of them. Alright, look at my pin location again. Stick that down on there. Now obviously I'm going to have to come back by oh gosh, by having that pin location, the shorter edge towards the front makes this flush with this end. Okay, so that one's on. Let me try the other one. I've got my pin. Let me dry fit it. Okay, fits right in there. We'll glue that one on. Everything came together pretty good. The only thing I had to do was, like I said, I had to clean all them little holes out where these glued together because it was such a tight fit when it was dry plastic, you know, just plain plastic. But then when you get that paint on there, it'll make it too thick and you'll have trouble getting it together. So you got to get in there and clean them holes out. And there's that one right there. Okay, so I'll have to come back and touch them up. Alright. Got the two bridges together. Now I can go ahead and get one of these on. I can go ahead and get one on. I can't put the other one on until I get my barrel all finished up, because that barrel has to go on with this other half. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this up next. Little pieces of dirt here and there. Alright, so I'm going to let this set up. Let it get good and solid before I go messing with it anymore. And like I said, you got to watch where you're pushing, as you got all this stuff on the sides. I want to make sure them boxes are good and solid, because them boxes are what's really holding this together. Alright. Okay. So that's it for this section. Get little specks of dust here and there. I'm going to have to blow this off real good when I go to set it together. Alright. I think while I'm waiting on this to dry, I'm going to go ahead and put my other barrel in. I got this one big barrel to go yet. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in and get this on, and I'm going to let it set overnight and then come back and do my barrel. Alright, so we probably won't be back till tomorrow. Okay, I think this is going to be the end of this week's videos. I've got it together. It's this one section right here is glued. This section back here, the barrel and this is not glued on there yet. Alright, I was giving this here one side a good day or two to set up. Alright, but there's what she's going to look at like Before I go ahead and put this barrel and this other section here glued on, I want to do a little bit of, I guess you'd call it weathering, where I'm going to take my train car and do some, just spray a little fine mist of maybe like some dirt or dust that the wheels would kick up. And I want to do that down along the bottom here on this. So it'll be much easier not to have this on yet, and I can spray that. But, and I'll have to back out so you can see the whole thing here. I'll do that in a second. But by putting that epoxy in my barrels like I was talking about in 3 different sections, 1, 2, and then the other one's up here, by using that epoxy to glue them together, gave me just that much more weight that it counterbalanced everything perfectly. Because now I can take the barrel and just set it there and it stays there. Okay? Before it was kind of a little bit heavy on the rear. But just that little bit of epoxy was enough weight to counterbalance everything nicely. Okay? Just sits right wherever I put it. Now, had I had a problem where it still was not counterbalanced enough, what I would have done at the very end is on the very last barrel, on the end of it, I would have jammed a piece of cotton ball down in there. Maybe 1 or 2 pieces, and see how that did. If I still needed more, then I would have mixed up some 5-minute epoxy, jammed that cotton ball down in there, and ran some 5-minute epoxy down in there. But I think, you know, if you needed just a hair more weight, a little cotton ball jammed down in there would probably do it. Okay? But it's counterbalanced beautifully. If that could be a word for a barrel, beautifully. And I got them other little pieces. I got the railing glued on it, on this little platform that goes up here and sticks straight out. But I cannot put this on until I get that ladder made. So that's going to be the next thing I do, is get this painted, get that ladder made, get it painted. So I will have everything from here done. It'll be all complete. So the next step after that will be the rear section and get that done. And that doesn't look like it's going to be too difficult. So, but yep, I went ahead and touched up them little pieces down there. So now they're painted. So basically, you know, other than that platform and that ladder, this is complete. Like I said, I just want to do some dusting on all them train cars and down here on the bottom, and then I can take this in the other room, get it out of the way while I work on my rear section. Oops. I'll show you what that was in a minute. So let me, well, I almost got the whole thing in view. Let me see if I can back out. There it is. So let me turn this lens around so I can see. Yeah, that barrel came out great once I got that epoxy in there. Just move it wherever I want and it's counterbalanced perfectly. Alright, I think that's going to be it for this week. That noise. What was that noise? I got this sitting on a piece of paper towel so I can move it around without scratching the bottom of it. Went over to the store, and you can see in the back here all this mess I got. You know, things just laying everywhere. Now there's going to be some things I can't put away because they're tall bottles. But I went over to the store and I bought me 4 of these. 4 of these, and they got 5 drawers. Now they had some smaller ones that only had 3 drawers, but I went with the 5, and I bought 4 of these, and I'm going to set them back against the wall and start putting some of my stuff in it. I got stuff back here against the wall, I got stuff in these other bins, I got stuff in my toolbox, so every time I want something I got to go hunting for it. So 4 of these. and then I bought one large one. Okay, and I figured this will hold my glues and my tape and stuff, the bigger stuff. Uh-oh. Would you? I didn't pay for that. I just happened to open that drawer and that was in there. Ooh! Oh no, man! Honestly, I didn't do that. I better check all these drawers out. Someone had thrown that in there, and I don't think it was the wife, because she don't buy that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna have to check all these drawers out. Oh man, I might be going to jail. And the nice thing about these, made in the USA. And that's unusual for the store where I went and got them at. So, yeah, they're pretty nice. They got a stop on them so you can't pull them out all the way. I guess, I don't know how you get them out of there. I don't know. I ain't worried about it. I ain't wanting to take them out. But that's nice so I don't grab a hold of it and jerk it all the way out by accident. So I'm going to take a break. And the next thing I'm going to do is do some airbrushing. But before I do that, I'm going to clean this mess up. I hate having this stuff all in my way. And I'm gonna start straightening some of this up. All right, so that's it for another week. We come back next week and we'll have them airbrushed, I think, or I'll show that being done, and we'll get started on the rear. I'll have this all glued together. Once I airbrush, I can get this together. Well, we're getting there. It's almost done. She is looking nice. All right, thanks for watching.